here's the other thing that it's the 500-pound elephant in the room, and I got to bring this up because I keep seeing this movie play out over and over again, and it's not to be just like conspiratorial about all of it.
Yeah.
But Ghislaine Maxwell found guilty on Wednesday, December 29th, 2021. In fact, it was during COVID, and the jurors for the holiday wanted to go home and take a break, and the judge said, you, you're staying in here, get this done. So she's found guilty during one of the deadest media weeks of the year, where New Year's Eve falls on a Friday, New Year's Day is a Saturday. By Monday, that news is old. In fact, Ghislaine Maxwell didn't traffic people to anybody? Who even heard that? Then you go back to when Epstein offed himself. Huge air quotes right there. It was a Saturday morning early in August, the deadest news month of the year. Everyone's on vacation. It's over by Monday morning when the news cycle starts again. That's already dead to begin with. Jean-Luc Brunel, who was his trafficker, Epstein's trafficker in Europe, in France, and around the world. He kills himself on Saturday morning of President's Day weekend, early on Saturday morning of President's Day weekend in America. News cycle's dead by Tuesday. Nobody's talking about it. Sean Diddy Combs goes through this whole month-long trial, which had plenty of coverage from guys like you. Yeah, 2 months, exactly. Plenty of coverage from guys like you. Independent media covered it. Mainstream media seemed to cover it a lot less than I thought they were going to, which is interesting. He is found guilty during a year when July 4th falls on a Friday. Many public companies literally gave their employees off for the week. He's found guilty on Wednesday the 2nd, very similar to Ghislaine Maxwell here. It is Friday. It's already old news. Monday, people are groggily getting back to work, and people are like, oh, yeah, something happened with Diddy. So point being, it seems to me that there's a little bit of a pattern here where very powerful people get put on trial, and the timing of when these trials wrap up, regardless of what their actual outcome is quite pristine.
Well, I can't talk about the consistency in when they're happening, but what I can tell you is don't let anyone tell you that a holiday doesn't affect jury deliberations. Now, here's what happened. We were all betting when the jury was going to come back. I thought it was going to, if this started on Monday and there was a full week and there was no holiday, I actually thought the jury was going to take the full week. I didn't think that they would come back with a verdict till Friday. We even put up a poll on Law and Crime on our YouTube show, and it was majority of people said it's going to take 2+ days. Now, one of the things the jury didn't know was that if they didn't come back with a verdict on Wednesday, typically court would be closed July 3rd on that Thursday. It's a court holiday. However, the judge was going to allow them to deliberate. The judge said, should I tell them this? And the defense says, don't tell them this yet. Because if you tell them this, they might feel the need to be like, come back with a decision immediately. They don't want to put the court out. So they were going to be given the option to deliberate on Thursday. They came back before the holiday weekend. You have to imagine they sat through an 8-week trial, 7-week trial, saw sex tapes, violence, the most disgusting stuff. I mean, no one's denying what Diddy liked. I mean, I'm not even going to repeat half the stuff that he liked. They sat through all that. You don't think they want to go home? Of course they want to go home.
Judge, we got to beat the short traffic. Come on.
Yeah.
This shit's getting old.
But they took their job seriously. There's no, as somebody who covered this trial and somebody who was reporting on this, and we had a reporter embedded in the courtroom observing the jury every day. This was a jury that took the responsibility very seriously, that listened to all the evidence. They were not slacking off. They didn't fall asleep. They weren't checked out. They were paying attention to everything. They deliberated. And you have to say that some will say it's a wrong verdict. Some will say it's a great verdict. The fact that they found him guilty of the charges that it seemed like he probably was going to get convicted of, and the ones that they acquitted of, this is a jury that carefully considered the evidence. And I can't say that the holiday weekend rushed them to that. I don't believe that. But it is interesting. It is interesting. They came back on Tuesday night, said we have verdicts on 4 of the 5 charges, but we can't come to a decision on racketeering conspiracy. I don't remember if the word was we're immovable on our positions. I don't remember what the word was. Judge said, go back, deliberate.
I got golf in the Hamptons on Thursday, pal. Let's go.
They're like, we're going to go home for the night. Came back the next morning, and within an hour, they had a decision. Now, could it be they went back home? They said they sat on it. We don't know what the holdouts were, if there was 1 holdout, 2 holdouts. It's interesting. The majority of the cases that I cover, when there's a hung jury, meaning they can't come to a decision, it's either A, They stick with that. They say, we're deadlocked. We can't come to a decision, or we're not going to change our opinions. Or sometimes it's not guilty. Sometimes it is guilty. I mean, it's hard to say. I thought that they were going to be hung. I thought they were like, if we can't come to a decision on this, nothing's going to change our perspective. And by the way, when there's a jury that's hung, that means some jurors are ready to convict him of racketeering conspiracy.
That's right.
Which made me know that he was already getting convicted of other charges.
Yes.
You're not going to have jurors who are ready to convict him on racketeering conspiracy and acquitted him from everything else. Not the case.
And you were calling, like you said, you were calling the shots on this publicly. I saw it.
And it was just, I knew that he was going to be found not guilty with respect to Jane. I knew he was going to be found guilty with respect to transportation and engage in prostitution. The other ones were sex trafficking of Cassie and racketeering. Was a toss-up.
Yeah. Now, the judge, this starts on May 5th. The judge estimated that the trial was going to be 8 weeks, and he seems to have been correct literally down to the day, which means they knew when the jury was going for
it was
deliberations.
about 7 weeks because they were anticipating the defense might put on a defense. And by the way, if Sean Combs took the stand, this trial was going to take a lot longer.
Oh, he had been on there for 3 weeks talking about himself.
There was going to be more witnesses that were supposed to testify. There was at least 2 other alleged victims that were supposed to testify. One couldn't be found. It was very bizarre. One
Couldn't be found.
Oh, you don't know about this? Alleged victim number 3, I think it was Gina in this case. This is Sean Combs' like other love interest who was a source of jealousy for Cassie and all this. She wasn't responding apparently, and her attorney wasn't responding to a subpoena.
They send her a tweet, something?
They just couldn't find her. And at one point during the trial, the defense goes, she's not a part of this case. She was not a part of this case.
Yeah.
She goes, she's not a part of this case. And the prosecution's like, no, she's very much a part of this case. And she was never called as a witness. A lot of people were like, oh, what happened to her? She was not a part of the case. We don't know what happened, but maybe she wouldn't have been a cooperative witness. And the defense was planning on calling their own witnesses. They were going to call the head of HR of Sean Combs Enterprise. They were going to call their own psychological expert, their own forensic psychologist, to rebut the testimony of the prosecution's own psychological expert who talked about the power dynamics between a victim and an abuser. They didn't call anybody. And they think at the end of the day, they're like, we don't have to. We thoroughly They cross-examined one of the, when I say alleged victim in this case, she wasn't necessarily a part of the indictment, but her testimony helped support that of Cassie and Jane. And also I think it was part of the underlying racketeering case. It was like, if he's abusing women as part of this criminal enterprise, I think she helped. There was a woman, okay, Brianna Bongolan, who testified Sean Combs held her off a 17-story balcony. Okay, really important testimony. The defense dismantled her testimony.
How'd they do that?
Oh, number one, there was a message where she offered to buy Sean Combs a T-shirt like a week after this happened. Strange. They looked at the travel records and the timestamp, the metadata of, so first of all, the metadata of when she took photos of her alleged injuries. It looked like those photos weren't taken when she said the injuries happened.
How do we know that?
They looked at the metadata and they said it's not adding up. Then, listen to this. She said this attack happened at a certain time and place. They looked at the travel records and Sean Combs' hotel receipts. He was on the other side of the country. I mean, and here's the problem. You might say the prosecution's going to throw as much as they possibly can at Sean Combs. Great, right? Great. So much they can throw.
Yeah.
The more you put in, it's more for the defense to dissect. If they dissect the testimony of a Brianna Bongolan, or they dissect the testimony of another alleged victim, Mia, who claims that when she was working for Sean Combs, he sexually assaulted her multiple times, yet they say, we'll show you text messages where she's staying in touch with him. She wished him a happy birthday on social media. The more that they raise reasonable doubt with respect to those alleged victims, arguably weakens the rest of the case.
Some of that gets hard, though, because on the one hand, you have, what is it, Helsinki syndrome or whatever, where someone's,
Stockholm syndrome.
Stockholm syndrome.
Close.
Where people, it sets in, where people feel like a need to appease their abuser or the person who's holding them hostage, so to speak. Obviously, I'm paralleling that term right there from what it officially is. And then, on the other hand, you have like what I might call the Me Too effect or something like that. And let's use the example of Harvey Weinstein. Harvey Weinstein was obviously a scumbag. He obviously, in my book, when you look at the cases, clearly abused many, many women. When that case came out, though, you saw a lot of initial accusers come out with very compelling stories where you're like, whoa, and then a lot of it checked out in court. Obviously, there's something going on with one of the cases right now. It's a separate issue. I don't want to go down that right now. But a lot of it was obviously proven in court. And then you suddenly had a lot of other people come in. And to me, it really actually hurts real victims too, because for whatever reason, people like to join the party sometimes. And then, you will have liars come in and claim stuff that didn't happen. And so to your point, when the prosecution says, all right, we're going to bring in 1 million fucking witnesses, let's say they bring in 20 or 25 legit witnesses who are going to be claiming abuse. If you just, knock a peg in one of them and say, wait a minute, there's a hole in that story.
Yeah.
Suddenly, if I'm a jury, I go, well, did I miss holes in all the others too?
Here's the counter argument. Ready?
Okay.
Counter argument is everybody's lying about him.
Yeah,
Every single person is lying. And what's their incentive? Cassie already got paid. She got paid a $20 million settlement. Why is she going to go on the stand and commit perjury? Why is she really going to do that? I mean, really. Now, again, I go to the idea of, were these witnesses lying, or are they telling the truth, but it just doesn't match up to what the narrative is the prosecution's selling?
Thank you guys for checking out this clip. If you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe and hit the like button on this video. It is a huge, huge help. And if you'd like to check out this clip's full podcast episode, that link is in the description below or right here. And finally, you can follow me on Instagram and X by using the links in my description below.